This morning, an anti-war protester is believed to be behind bars after interrupting Russia's main news broadcast, a video that's now gone viral globally. It's an editor and producer for Russian state TV you see holding a sign saying no war and telling viewers not to believe the station's propaganda. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in his daily address thanked her amid reports she'll get the maximum 15 years in prison. Meantime, covering the war has become an increasingly dangerous business. Late yesterday, we learned that Fox News correspondent Benjamin Hall suffered injuries while reporting outside of Kyiv and is hospitalized, though we don't know the exact details of those injuries. And tributes continue to pour in for Brent Renaud, the first American journalist killed in Ukraine, shot by Russian troops on Sunday. Joining me now, Olga Tokariuk, an Ukrainian journalist and researcher and non-resident fellow at the Center for European Analysis. We also want to say that just a few minutes before this interview, Olga was hiding out in a bomb shelter. I'm glad to see you're back above ground, so to speak, Olga, but journalists are coming under attack more and more as the war intensifies. What's it like just trying to protect yourself there now?
Well, you know, journalists, like other citizens of Ukraine and other foreigners who are now in Ukraine, are living this war. This is an experience we are all facing, regardless of our professions. And of course, those journalists on the front line are facing the biggest risks. Some of my Ukrainian colleagues were under fire when they tried to cover the events in southern Ukraine, in Zaporizhia region. Their car was shot at, and it was just a miracle that they escaped, not wounded and safe. So unfortunately, this war, it's the war on civilians very often. Russia is targeting deliberately civilian objects, residential areas, hospitals, schools, and so on. And it's targeting journalists as well.
Reporters Without Borders has been sharing stories of attacks made on the media, including this one from a Swiss journalist. He and others saying they were shot at by Russian forces despite having their vehicle and gear visibly marked. If Russian forces are purposely targeting journalists, what are we looking at here?
Well, I think it's 20th day of war now, and we are seeing that Russian troops here in Ukraine, they do not have any limits in all the crimes that they are committing. They are dropping bombs on residential areas, on maternity hospitals, killing pregnant women and unborn children. And they do not care about journalists either. You know, it's just this spirit of impunity that they can get away with it, and that somehow Putin believes that no one can stop him and his forces in Ukraine from committing more atrocities.
Meantime, Russia has that new law that results in up to 15 years in prison for anyone convicted of distributing fake news about the war. There are internally some watchdog groups in Russia who say scores of journalists have already left because the situation is so dangerous. Isn't this exactly how Putin has kept a lid on the truth all these years? Threats, imprisonment, and maybe others who finally want to tell the truth then are kept from doing that.
Well, Russia has been cracking down on independent media for years, and what we are seeing now are these final attempts to wipe out the information space and to replace any sort of true information with propaganda. And in fact, you know, the Russian propaganda is highly responsible for what is happening now, because for years, Russian state-controlled media were spreading hatred towards Ukrainians, dehumanizing them, disseminating calls for against Ukraine, but also against the West, and they are continuing to do so. We are seeing Russian top propagandist Solovyov on TV saying that this war is not just against Ukraine, that this is the war against the West. And I think many in the West still do not realize that in order to understand Russia's true intentions, one should follow what Russian state propaganda says and take it seriously, even though, you know, those claims sometimes might look outrageous and exaggerated, but they really mean it, and they are showing it with their actions in Ukraine now.
Olga Tokariuk, a tremendous admiration and appreciation for what you and your colleagues are doing, the risks you're taking to tell us the truth. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.